to be honest with you, the very first time I got promoted as a sales manager, I got demoted. I got demoted about 6 months later because I was too young. I didn't understand the qualities of leadership. You know, I was too much in my head. I wasn't confident enough to lead people. And so anyways, I got demoted, went back into sales, and to be honest with you, I love being in sales because I only worried about my own pipeline, only worried about my own production. You know what I mean? I was part of a team, but at the end of the day, I rocked my own beat, my own drum set. Make sense? So I was on my own wavelength, and I found it to be just a little bit more peaceful that way. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sales Remastered. My name is Daniel and I'm your host. And on this episode, what we're going to talk about is becoming a manager worth it, right? Because I think there's a lot of salespeople out there right now that's really grinding, working their hardest, putting in the extra hours, coming in work buttoned up, suited up, booted up, right? Just to become at some point a manager. And I want to share with you, for those of you who are on that career path of wanting to become a manager, a few things that I learned, because obviously right now, for those of you who don't know, I currently do manage a team. I actually manage the #1 team on a national size, multi-billion-dollar portfolio lender that's all across the country. There's well over 200 teams, over 3,000 employees. And my group of 10, our team currently stands as the #1 sales team consecutively over the last 3 years now. And I'm going to share with you from experience a few things that I learned because, I've been in sales for almost 20 years now. And one thing, comment if you agree, one thing that is certain is that if your company recognizes you as a strong salesman, what they'll do is they'll end up trying to promote you. They'll promote you to become a sales manager because what they want you to do is train others to be like you. In other words, influence a team of individuals or a team of salespeople to act and produce just like you. Now, when this time comes, and for those of you who've never been a manager before, you might very well ask yourself, oh man, should I do it? It's a lot of pressure. Is it right for me? And I'm gonna speak again from experience because back in the day when I was very young, the very first time I was promoted to become a sales manager, I was only about 23 years old, 22, 23 years old. And I thought it was cool because it was a title. And being that young, you just think managers make a lot of money. And it's logic, right? Because sales managers typically get paid based on the production of their team. And usually you make a commission percentage or a bonus percentage based on each individual under your team. And so, you think about it and be like, okay, that's cool. So, I got individuals making money for me. And you might very well think that you're going to be just balling out of control. But there's more to it than just that, because as a sales manager or as a manager period, you not only manage yourself, but you manage other people. And so then you become responsible for those other people. And one thing that was very, very frustrating to me was I didn't understand, or even I couldn't comprehend how some people just were not wired the same way. So in other words, not everybody wanted it. Up until this day, I still get frustrated that way because you just think like, how come you don't want it bad enough? Like, how come you don't, how come you don't put in the extra time? How come you don't want it bad enough? And it took me years to really learn that not everybody is wired the same. And so I had to learn how to be creative and really practice my craft and learn how to creatively motivate each individual based on their preference, based on kind of their mode of thinking. And so it went from kind of a general vague statement or plan to lead, right? Like to motivate, like, hey, everybody, rah, 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 let's score some points, let's make some sales. Because that's how I was when I was young, to actually individually understanding what pushes each person. And each person was different, right? Because mind you, when I was 22 years old, and this might happen to you depending on your age, you may become a manager because that's what you want. And then you're going to have employees underneath you on your team reporting to you that are older than you. That's some shit, because they won't, they take, especially if you were hustling alongside them for a couple months, now they got to report to you. mind you, they understand how you were as a loan officer, right? So you might have, you might have cheaped a couple bowls with them on lunchtime. You might have went out drinking with them and acted a fool, and then now you become this authority over them. So there's this weird dynamic, and the only reason why I'm opening this up to you is because if you're set and motivated to become a manager, it may very well not be right for you unless you really do want to take ownership and responsibility, because it almost is like the buck stops with you. So not only are you managing your pipeline, your own production, but you're managing 10 other people's production and what they're doing with their time. You're managing their efficiency, their production, but also you're putting out their fires. You're handling their fires, right? You're handling their customer service calls. You're doing second calls for them. And this goes beyond, being selfless, because at the end of the day, as a salesperson, you get paid based on how efficient and effective you are with the time that you're allotted each and every single day. And so before you go into a sales manager position, you got to ask yourself a few questions. Number one is, are you ready to take ownership over other people's production? Are you ready to take full blame and accountability over your group's production? And if your group fails, are you ready and able to take full ownership of that? If your team ends up coming in last place and your team doesn't meet the quota, are you going to take ownership, or are you going to point and blame? Because you can't do that as a leader. You can't say, oh, it's because I got weak people, or oh, it's because the other teams get Glengarry leads, or they get better leads. That's not the mentality that you want as a leader. What you want the mentality to be on your entire team is one cohesive energy. And so everyone has a common goal, but at the same time, it's individually tailored to that specific person. And so you gotta really be a people's person. It took me a very long time to understand this. To be honest with you, the very first time I got promoted as a sales manager, I got demoted. I got demoted about 6 months later because I was too young. I didn't understand the qualities of leadership. I was too much in my head. I wasn't confident enough to lead people. And so anyways, I got demoted, went back into sales, and to be honest with you, I love being in sales because I only worried about my own pipeline, I only worried about my own production. You know what I mean? I was part of a team, but at the end of the day, I rocked my own beat, my own drum set. Make sense? So I was on my own wavelength, and I found it to be just a little bit more peaceful that way, because I didn't have to worry about people coming in and leaving if they're going to come in and make up for yesterday's lack of production. And so if that sounds like you, and you don't want to take over responsibility over everyone else, because if someone is lacking on your team, the person that you report to as a sales manager, which is probably going to be your VP or your area manager, that person's going to get on you. They're not going to get on that other LO. They're going to be like, how come your person is failing? You're their leader. Why aren't you leading them to become profitable? Right? And so that you got to be ready for that. So if you're not ready for that, and you much rather, mosey onto your own tune and do your own thing, then just have patience, my man or my lady. Maybe management isn't necessarily the right thing for you. So I hope you find this message helpful. For those of you on the track to try to become a manager, I really want you to watch this video over again, because at the end of the day, if you want to become a manager and that's your thing to do, that might very well actually anchor you and bring you down. You might be making good money as a salesman, and you might be meant to be a salesman, and the second you try to take on that title because it looks cool, or you get to join those executive meetings, sometimes that shit ain't fun, boo-boo, and that will actually become an anchor and hold your income down. So think twice about it. Hope you learned a thing or two out of this video. Please don't forget to hit the subscription button, hit the bell so you're notified of any content I upload. If you're catching me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, definitely add me onto your feed, because I'm always sharing that hustle nutrition to give yourself a daily dose of. I appreciate your feedback. Please comment below and share this video with someone who needs to see it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.